everybody, and welcome to another great episode.
Today we are at Magic Kingdom because we are going to be going through the top 5 must-do attractions here at Magic Kingdom. There are a lot of attractions to see and do at this park, but we're going to run you through the top 5 that you absolutely can't miss. If you've only got time to do 5 attractions, these are going to be the 5 that you gotta hit.
Number 5.
All right, here we are at our first attraction on the list. Our number 5 top attraction to hit at the Magic Kingdom is Carousel of Progress. Carousel of Progress over here in Tomorrowland is a historic ride. Opened up here in 1975. 1975, but did you know there was actually 2 versions of Carousel of Progress before this one? Yeah, the first Carousel of Progress actually opened in 1964 at the World's Fair in New York. And it was such a popular attraction that Walt himself decided that he was going to open it up in Disneyland specifically. So updated the attraction, put it actually in Disneyland, and it ran for 6 years from 1967 to 1973. And then it closed, and what they ended up doing was they actually transplanted the Carousel of Progress from Disneyland in 1973 and reopened it here in 1975, which is where it has been since then. And as a result, with the continuously running shows, it is the longest continuously running show in all of the United States of America, in American history. So that is pretty awesome. So the Carousel of Progress itself has 4 distinct scenes within the theater, and the theater chairs actually rotate around the scenes versus the scenes rotating around the audience. So it's really kind of a cool thing. The 4 different scenes that you're going to walk through are going to be Valentine's Day at sort of the turn of the 20th century. Then it moves into the 4th of July during the 1920s. Then you see Halloween during the 1940s. And then the last part is a Christmas, essentially from the 21st century, sort of a futuristic scene. What's interesting is it's been in there so long that futuristic doesn't look so futuristic anymore. It still kind of looks like almost today. So it's going to probably need an update soon to feel a little bit more futuristic. So one of the cool things that you may not know about Carousel of Progress is that the narrator for the Carousel of Progress is a pretty well-known individual that you've probably actually heard talk a lot of times and you didn't even realize it. It's actually the narrator, Gene Shepherd from the Christmas Story movie. I mean, I think everybody at this point has seen the Christmas Story movie at Christmas time. The narrator from that movie is the same person that narrates Carousel of Progress. So pretty cool, right? So the song There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow that I think everybody knows at this point wasn't always the song for Carousel of Progress. Did you know that?
No.
Pretty cool. Now, A Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow was the original song that launched in the World's Fair, but it actually got changed to another song when it got transplanted over to the Magic Kingdom in 1975. And the new song that replaced it was The Best Time of Your Life. So some of you may remember it if you actually got on the Carousel of Progress from the time it opened until about 1994 when they actually went back to a new version of A Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow. So that's kind of cool because I think we just always associate it with the same song, but there was actually another song in there that had a really long run. So now the song we have is the original song it opened with, so it's pretty cool. Overall, the ride's about 20 to 22 minutes long. So it's a long ride. So you're in that thing for a while, but it feels like it goes by in the blink of an eye.
It feels like
Really does. It just feels like a few minutes. So it's an awesome experience. I just absolutely love the Carousel of Progress. It has to be on this list. It is a historic, iconic attraction.
it's just one of my favorite rides I've ever ridden. It gets you in your feels,
Yeah.
and I absolutely love it. If you ride it, you'll sing the song all day.
Yeah, it's a must-do for me. And the cool thing, the best thing about it, there's never a wait.
Yeah.
You never have to wait for the thing. It doesn't matter what time of day, you're in and out, no problem. So it's something you can get out, get into, get out of the heat, get in the air conditioning. It's an awesome attraction. Definitely a great attraction to kick off our top 5 attractions at number 5 in the Magic Kingdom, the Carousel of Progress.
Number 4.
Next up on our top 5 attractions for Magic Kingdom is the Haunted Mansion. Ooh, scary. All right, the Haunted Mansion is gotta be an awesome top attraction for Magic Kingdom. It is so cool. The building behind me, the facade, I will call it, for Haunted Mansion, is just a facade. The actual ride is a giant warehouse way behind that actual building, so you don't even see where the actual ride is. That's pretty cool. The Haunted Mansion was built in 1971 in Magic Kingdom, but did you know there's 5 versions of the Haunted Mansion in the different parks? And the very first one that opened was in Disneyland in 1969. So this is the actual second one that's been built out of all the 5. And then the other 3 are located in Tokyo, Paris, and Hong Kong. So if you're unfamiliar with the Haunted Mansion, the whole premise of the actual ride is that there's 999 happy haunts in the Haunted Mansion, but there's room for 1 more. So you can become the 1,000th resident of the Haunted Mansion. Now, something interesting about the Haunted Mansion here in Magic Kingdom versus the Disneyland attraction is the Haunted Mansion in Disney World, actually, the room, sort of the stretching room, the room actually itself is stretching. So the ceiling is actually stretching upwards. In the Disneyland version, you actually get in an elevator and go down. So it's actually an actual physical elevator in Disneyland. And that's because in the Disneyland version, you actually go down the elevator and then you take a tunnel underneath the property to actually get into the giant warehouse where the actual ride is. Whereas here, the room just stretches and then you stay on the same level. So it's kind of cool, the difference between the two. One of the more morbid facts about this attraction is that the Haunted Mansion is actually the #1 attraction in Disney where people actually try to spread their ashes of loved ones. So they kind of have to keep a watch out for it because that's where people come and they want to spread the ashes of a loved one. This is the #1 attraction where they do that. Another cool fact is that the tombstones that are all, if you look at the tombstones that are all around the entrance and the ride queue, the names on those tombstones are actually the names of Imagineers who brought this attraction to life. So that's pretty cool. They get to be immortalized forever in the tombstones. I think that's really cool. I would have loved to have been an Imagineer that got my name on a tombstone. That's pretty cool. I love the ride. It's a dark ride, fully enclosed dark ride, and it is dark in there. Like, it's dark. Very dark. And you get on what they call a doom buggy, which is kind of just a cool fancy name for a little egg-shaped car thing that you get in, and you have your own personal, 2 to 3 person cart, and you just move around. So it's like an Omnimover type attraction. But I love it. It's got lots of cool scenes. The ride has lots of memorable music. Grim green girls come out to socialize. Love it. It's just such a cool attraction. Definitely deserving of being on our top 5 attractions list. Coming in at number 4 is the Haunted Mansion.
Number 3.
Next up on our list for top 5 attractions is the number 3 spot right here, Pirates of the Caribbean. Pirates of the Caribbean here, built at the Magic Kingdom in 1973, but there are 5 versions of this ride throughout the different parks. In order of when Pirates of the Caribbean was created: 1967 Disneyland, 1973 here in Walt Disney World Magic Kingdom. We've got Tokyo at 1983. After that, we've got Disneyland Paris at 1992. And then finally, the newest addition to the Pirates of the Caribbean family was in Shanghai in 2016. So 5 versions of this ride. Interesting fun fact about Pirates of the Caribbean: this is actually the last ride that Walt Disney himself oversaw. One of the cool things about Pirates of the Caribbean, which is sort of unique to the rides, is that this ride actually inspired a movie. So if you remember, in 2003, Pirates of the Caribbean, the movies launched. And then the movies inspired the ride. So they actually updated the ride itself in 2006 to include scenes from the movie. So it's kind of this cool circle. The ride inspired the movie, then the movie inspired the ride. I just think that's really cool. Something kind of unique. There was a little bit of controversy on this ride too, with the whole "we want the redhead" scene. If you've seen it, it was actually replaced. So now the redhead is sort of the leader of the pirates. And then they shout out like, "we want the rum" instead. So it's a really cool little update. I like it. It's made kind of a cool impact. So let's talk about the ride. What I think is really cool is that, and I want to talk about the 2016 Shanghai version of this ride, which I find really interesting because it's a new version of Pirates of the Caribbean and it's kind of reinvented what this ride could be. So I haven't ridden it yet because I haven't been over to Shanghai since it was released in 2016. But it's actually an electromagnetic ride. So So it is still a boat ride, but it's propelled along with magnets. So the boat actually spins, changes direction, moves around. It's got all kind of really cool screens implemented in it. So it's like a massive update to Pirates of the Caribbean. So I'm dying to see that ride, to actually do that ride in Shanghai. But again, this is one of the original versions, and it is awesome. It is a fully enclosed dark boat ride. There is one sort of like medium-sized drop on the ride that you're not kind of expecting because it's like pitch black in the beginning of the ride, but overall, it's still a very iconic ride. I love it. Lots of cool scenes. My favorite scene. What's your favorite scene?
When you go in and all the cannons are shooting.
She likes the cannons.
Even though you get wet, and I don't like to get wet, but
yes.
you get more wet on that than Splash Mountain sometimes.
And I love that scene too, and I also love that they added Captain Barbossa's voice from the movies into that part. It makes it even better. I think the part for me that's the most interesting that I always look at is the one guy who's sitting on the bridge and his leg is hanging down, and he's got like little individual hairs on his leg. It's like a really cool scene, right? I just love that thing. I always look at it, like every time I'm like trying to see, he's got a little bit of mud on his foot. I just think it's a really cool, picturesque moment that's got like a lot of cool little details in it. So overall, Pirates of the Caribbean, awesome, awesome ride, deserving of being number 3 on our top 5 attractions list. Pirates of the Caribbean. No, Pirates of the Caribbean. How come? Isn't that just crazy?
No, it's Caribbean.
One does not just say Pirates of the Caribbean. But when you talk about the Caribbean, you don't say Caribbean. I don't know, it's crazy. Anyway, Pirates of the Caribbean, number 3.
Number 2.
All right, here we are, counting down to that number 1 spot. Man, are we close. We are at number 2, and it is right behind us as well. The amazing, the awesome Splash Mountain. Splash Mountain was introduced in 1992 here in the Magic Kingdom at the same time the actual Tokyo version of this launched. Pretty much at the same exact time. It was like one day apart. The first version of Splash Mountain is actually, where do you think?
Disneyland, probably.
It was launched in Disneyland, California. And that was launched a full 3 years before the version of Magic Kingdom was launched. So 3 years, then this one launched along with Tokyo. So, but still, an awesome ride. It is such a cool place.
I love it.
Such a cool ride. So the ride itself is actually based on the 1946 film, The Song of the South. There has been a lot of drama about the theme of the ride. And so they're actually going to be retheming it to Princess and the Frog.
Which I also love. It's one of my favorite movies.
I gotta say, this ride as it is has a special place in my heart. The zippity-doo-dah, the music, the briar patch, but I love Princess and the Frog. It's one of my top Disney animated films. I love it, so I am excited to see this thing transition over to Princess and the Frog. Did you know that the original name they were toying with for Splash Mountain was Zippity River Run? The Zippity River Run. So, yeah, they ended up actually renaming it to Splash Mountain because it coincided with the film release Splash. If you remember the film Splash, it kind of coincided with that. Obviously, didn't make a whole lot of sense, the movie Splash, with this theme, but the name actually stuck and they ended up going with Splash Mountain. All right, so how fast do you think this ride goes down the hill?
32 miles an hour.
Close. 40 miles an hour it goes down that hill. So it's faster than Big Thunder Mountain, Space Mountain. It's faster than Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, faster than Barnstormer. It's fast, 40 miles an hour, woo, right down that hill. So it's pretty cool. Did you also know this ride pumps 1 million gallons of water through it? 1 million gallons of water get pumped through this ride the whole time. That's crazy. That's a lot of water. So overall, I love the ride. I have to say, I love the fact that it's a log flume. It doesn't get you super wet, which I also like because I don't love getting wet on rides, to be honest.
I still wear a poncho on it.
We still wear a poncho, and every time water seeps through my poncho, I'm like, really? But I do love the ride, and I love the fact that part of the ride is indoor and part of the ride is outdoor. So you get both experiences.
And it's long. It's
and
a long
it
ride.
Is a long ride.
I like long rides.
It's so long. Like when you think it's over, there's still more left.
Yeah.
And there's multiple hills in this thing. So it's not just the one big hill. There's several hills throughout the ride, and I love that as well. So love the music, love the theme. It's an awesome attraction. It's a water ride. Can't say enough good things about this thing. And on top of that, it's getting rethemed to Princess of the Frog, which I'm excited about because, again, I love the movie. So it has to be on our top 5, and it is marching its way all the way up near the top at number 2 for sure, Splash Mountain.
Honorable mention.
We are counting down to our number 1 must-do attraction at the Magic Kingdom. But before we get to that number 1 spot, we've got a couple of honorable mentions for you. And the first honorable mention on our list is the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. The Seven Dwarfs Mine Train, in its own right, is an awesome ride. It is such a cool experience, and it is popular. It rarely goes below a 70 to 80 to 90 minute wait on a daily basis. It is crowded. It's fairly new. It's only been here since 2014. So because of the fact that it's new, it gets a lot of traction. It just didn't quite make it into our top 5 because there are so many awesome attractions in this park. And did you know there's actually 2 Seven Dwarfs Mine Trains? There's actually 2. Did you know that? There's 2 Seven Dwarfs Mine Trains. There's one here in the Magic Kingdom, and there's one in Shanghai. It's actually a very similar ride to Big Thunder Mountain if you've ridden that. Overall, the ride vehicles are a little bit slower, so it's a slightly slower version of Big Thunder Mountain. Big Thunder Mountain gets up to about 36 miles an hour. Seven Dwarf Mine Train gets about 34 miles an hour, so it's a little bit slower ride, just a little bit, tiny bit. And it's quite a bit smoother of a ride than Big Thunder Mountain, quite frankly. Each ride car for the vehicle actually swings independently side to side from the actual ride vehicle. So it actually results in a much smoother ride when it comes to the turns as opposed to Big Thunder Mountain. So it's a little bit smoother ride overall than Thunder Mountain. Another interesting fact is if you pay attention to the actual ride cars themselves, all the little details on the actual ride cars themselves are slightly different from each other. So that's really cool. Another really cool, interesting fact from Seven Dwarfs Mine Train is that there used to be a ride in this park called Snow White's Scary Adventures, if you remember that. Remember that? I love that ride. And they actually took some of the figurines and some of the things from that ride and repurposed them and put them into the actual Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. So be on the lookout for those old figures. So definitely worth seeing in the park. It's usually pretty crowded, so it can be kind of hard to get on it. So it gets a little bit of points taken off for that. But it is an awesome ride. I really just love the smoothness of it. I love the hi-ho audio that goes through it. I love going through the caves with all the little gems. Yes, the mines with all the gems and everything. And then the Snow White, there's a really cool Easter egg at the end of the ride. Take a look when you actually get in, right before you go in to get off the ride. There's a house there. Take a look and see who's knocking on the door there at the house. So that's it. That's the summary for Seven Dwarfs Mine Train. Coming in as an honorable mention, not quite strong enough to get right into that top 5 spot, but a fantastic ride.
Honorable mention.
All right, bringing you another honorable mention. Didn't quite make the top 5 list again, but is an awesome attraction, and that is right behind me, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Big Thunder Mountain Railroad is the wildest ride in the wilderness.
It really is.
It is such a cool ride, but did you know there's 4 versions of Big Thunder Mountain? 4! And there is a lot of rides that have a lot of replication throughout the Magic Kingdom and Disneyland parks. So this is another one, 4 versions of Big Thunder Mountain. Obviously, you have the one here in Walt Disney World in the Magic Kingdom. You've got one in Disneyland in California. You've got one in Tokyo, and you have one in Paris. Now, the Disneyland version of this was the first one ever built in 1979. The Magic Kingdom version just a year later, just a little bit after in 1980. But awesome railroad adventure ride, big roller coaster. Something I found very interesting about Thunder Mountain is the sound effects and the music. If you pay attention when you're on the ride, there's a lot of cool sound effects, voices and explosions and creaking and screeching and things like that. But what you may not know is that a lot of those sound effects are used in the Indiana Jones Temple of Doom. You would think that the sound effects used in Temple of Doom are what was then used on the ride. It's actually the other way around. Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom actually didn't steal, they got the ride sounds from this, because when they were filming and they were trying to come up with their own ride sounds, they were like, this just isn't working. They had this very specific sounds in mind, and they were the sounds from this ride, and they're like, we're just not gonna be able to do any better than the sound effects that are on this ride. So they actually used them in the movie. Pretty cool, right? I love Indiana Jones, and I love the Temple of Doom. That is a cool cool movie. All right, and then there's something else really cool about this ride, and it's actually in the line itself. And I don't think most people know this, but it is actually an interactive queue. And you're like, yeah, we know. We've seen the knobs you can crank and all that. But what you don't probably know is that there's actually a specific order to which if you interact with all of those interactions, cranking the knobs, turning the dials, pushing the buttons, it will actually cause a giant explosion out with steam and everything that comes out. So there's actually a very specific order, and there's actually instructions for what that order is in the ride queue if you actually pay attention. So before you get to those dials and levers, there's instructions on how you actually have to do it. It can be tough to pull off because if people are messing with them all the way through the line, but if no one's touching them, which right now nobody really messes with them, you can kind of impress people and surprise people, like, whoa, what happened? And you're like, yep, I know what I'm doing. There's actually a really cool sequence, so check it out, look it up. 36 miles an hour this ride goes. It's pretty fast. Not super fast, but I mean, it feels pretty fast, and it's a bit herky-jerky. One of the things I love to do is put myself into one of the cars by myself, and then you basically just get slid back and forth on the ride. So it's pretty crazy. It's a little rough and tumbly. But the other thing about this ride, it's better at night.
It's definitely better at night.
It is so much better at night. I love it. I mean, I love it during the daytime, but during the night, it's even cooler, and it even feels faster at nighttime. So, highly recommend. If you do it in the daytime, also do it at night. It's basically a runaway train. Like, it's just screaming through there. It's a cool ride. Definitely worth experiencing it. Didn't quite make the top 5. There's so many attractions here that are so cool. It just barely made it. I feel like this is the one that most people are going to be upset that didn't make the top 5. But, I mean, it is what it is. There's so many good attractions. So, almost got into that top 5 spot. Just barely missed it. Honorable mention, Big Thunder Mountain Railroad.
Number 1.
We finally made it to our number 1 top attraction. I've been waiting the whole time for this, and I am excited. Number 1 top attraction, Magic Kingdom. Right behind me there. I think you can see it. Space Mountain. I don't know if anybody was surprised that this came in at number 1. I wasn't surprised. To me, I think it's got to be the number 1 attraction in Magic Kingdom. It is awesome. Did you know, though, which I don't know that people know, did you know there's actually 5 versions of Space Mountain? 5 versions. I mean, you're seeing a trend on this list. There's a lot of attractions at Magic Kingdom are replicated in a lot of different parts. So 5 versions of Space Mountain. There's a Space Mountain in Tokyo. There's a Space Mountain in Hong Kong. There's a Space Mountain here in Magic Kingdom. There's a Space Mountain in Disneyland Paris. There's a Space Mountain in Disneyland California. There's 5 different versions of Space Mountain, and they're all kind of unique. None of them are exact replicas of each other. The one in Paris is Hyperspace Mountain. It's really cool. It's got like this retro look to it. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of interesting things about the Space Mountains. What you might also find interesting, and this is up for debate, so some people might be turning this video off after I say this, but if you rank all of the different Space Mountains, the Hyper Space Mountain in Paris is widely regarded as the best. And believe it or not, the worst Space Mountain of all of the 5 is that one right there at Disney World. Do you believe it? That one is widely regarded as the worst Space Mountain of all the Space Mountains, and yet it's the best ride in Magic Kingdom in our opinion. So that just tells you how cool some of those Space Mountains are at the other parks. So you can be the judge for yourself, but I've been on the Disneyland Paris and the Disneyland California, and I can definitely tell you Disneyland Paris is awesome. That is a cool Space Mountain. What you may also not know is the Disney World Space Mountain, it's actually the first Space Mountain ever built. So when you think about ranking them, and I mean, it is the oldest version. I mean, it's had some updates, but it is the oldest. So interesting, 1975 was when this was built. I mean, that's old. That's a long time ago for a cool ride like that. A couple of cool things about Space Mountain that I think you want to know about. It's a dark ride where you blast off into space and it's cool. But did you know it's actually the first fully enclosed dark ride in the world? It was the first one ever made fully enclosed dark roller coaster. Because it's also the oldest and it's the world's first, it's actually the slowest Space Mountain of all of the Space Mountains. And it's actually, believe it or not, the slowest ride in Magic Kingdom. the slowest roller coaster. I think the Winnie the Pooh ride's a little bit slower. But from a roller coaster, it's the slowest. The Barnstormer over in the circus area goes 28 miles an hour. You know what the top speed of Space Mountain is? 25 miles an hour. Just to give you an indicator of how fast it is, Barnstormer goes 28, this goes 25. But because it's fully enclosed dark, it feels like it's going so much faster. It really feels like it's really motoring down that track. So I don't want to let that fool you. You've got to experience it yourself. It feels like it is motoring down that track. But also, it was the world's first computer-operated roller coaster. I mean, this ride has a lot of firsts here. World's first fully enclosed. World's first computer-operated. I mean, it's pretty awesome. All right, and the last cool fact about it, you see those structural beams there? See those big ridges on Space Mountain? Those aren't just decoration. That's not necessarily just a decorative item. Those are actually the structural support beams for the actual ride itself. And they were built on the outside of the roller coaster, on the outside of the main frame. You know why they did that? Because they wanted the inside to be a completely flat surface so they could project all the stars on it. In order to get that cool star effect, they had to put the support beams on the outside. So that's pretty cool to know. So a lot of cool facts about this, a lot of world's firsts for this ride. It is awesome. I absolutely love the takeoff. What are your thoughts on Space Mountain?
I love Space Mountain. It actually gets me in my feels, and that's the only roller coaster I feel like that does that. Maybe Rocky Roller Coaster, but I absolutely love Space Mountain.
Yeah, it is an iconic, I mean, just the shot of it alone, the whole experience, going through the ride queue, it's cool inside, there's stars, there's asteroids, the ride itself, cool sound effects. It's just an amazing experience. So it is, without a doubt, for us, #1 attraction at Magic Kingdom all the way. So there you have it. There it is, #1, Space Mountain. All right, so there you have the full list, the top 5 plus some honorable mentions of the attractions you just got to do at Magic Kingdom. With Magic Kingdom having so many attractions, it has so many things you can do here, it does help to prioritize what attractions do you actually must ride. So hopefully this list helped you out. These are the top 5 with a couple of honorable mentions that you've just got to do. All the other rides are fantastic as well, but if you only had a chance to do 5, these are the 5. So thanks for joining us. Thanks for tuning in for our top 5 list. We've got other top 5 lists that be in the comments below down there, be in the description below. Check them out. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, the Noble Way.
It's the easy way.
Bye-bye, everybody.